Okay, so this is the next day. I'm in between storms here. It did drop a little rain, but you can kind of see what I was talking about yesterday about the difference when you're walking in this pea gravel when there's a little water in there, and it makes all the difference. It's just so much of a cleaner environment. So what I did is because these boxes are too narrow, these standard size boxes. I'll pan out here so you can get a sense of how much different they are. I've got the regular size boxes still for this small drip valve, and then that isolation valve will still be that round box. But two of these standard boxes I'm going to replace. I replaced with these jumbo boxes, and in fact these Rainbird ones are the best because you can see how they have a wide flange down there at the bottom, which helps spread out the force from the mowers when they go over the top. But in addition to that, I also got the purple lids to signify, and they were just a couple bucks more. These were literally like the cheapest jumbo boxes they had, and they're actually the best. These VB Rainbird boxes are so good. I dealt with them for years at Ames, and they work wonderfully. But anyway, so I was going to show you that not only is there more space for the valves in between on the sides, because these standard ones were compressing them together. They were right up against each other and right up against the edge, and you couldn't even get the bonnet off, I don't think, because they were so tight. But the main line here that makes this manifold, you can see this is the end here, so I didn't have to cut this, but in this corner it goes across here like this. So on each side I cut out the corner so that if this gets compressed down, which this pea gravel and this wide flange between the two of those, that will make all the difference between these collapsing in this mud with no bricks, which bricks are, you know, kind of teetery, and I've never really thought that they were that great. But the pea gravel is great because it compresses well, and yet it has just enough of a flex to it, but it pops back kind of. But with this wide flange on top of that, it's best case scenario for this. And now there's no part of the valve box that's sitting on top of a pipe, so I'll have enough pea gravel on the rest of it to keep that from happening. There's about 8 to 10 inches of pea gravel in this hole now throughout, and so then I'm going to fill the rest with the remaining dirt, and then this shouldn't it shouldn't have any issues from that standpoint with there being too much crowding and it creating an issue with the valves, and it won't have this continuing issue of these boxes that didn't even have anything cut out, and they were literally right on top of the pipe. And I know from experience that those male adapters will shear at some point from that constant flexing. Even with a lightweight mower, it's just that continual pounding that will eventually shear those, and most often they shear at the most inopportune time. So that is the entire crux of this idea, in addition to helping this drain and to make a much cleaner environment to work in for future reference. But it's going to be just infinitely better. I'll also show you this hole filled up again, and so that's a lot of what's draining back in there. There was quite a bit that sheeted off this walk, because I don't know, it's so hard to see it the way I can see it from here with my own eyes. But just if you ever want to just walk over here, you can see how much this slopes into this one spot right here. And so something needed to be addressed from that standpoint, or there were going to be a lot of future issues. And the whole point of this was because this was not a ticket. You can see this hole. Sorry, I'm segueing here. You can see this hole is still filled with water, and so you know, because of that void that I was showing you in the other video underneath the walk here, that's what's draining back down in here now. But at least it doesn't sit on top and fill these boxes and create like a big issue. So the pea gravel is going to help all the way around. But the whole point of this was not a ticket. This was a call in, and it was just assumed that it was a leak, because not only were all 5 boxes full, or 4 boxes, whatever it is, they were full of water. They had spilled out over the top, and this entire area was more or less filled with water. And so everyone just assumed that it was a leak, but I have verified a couple of times that there is no leaks in this section. I have it pressurized right now, and there's no leaks at all. And so this was all from the rain that we got yesterday. But as you can see, it handled it a lot better, and this is what I anticipate moving forward. And I think it's going to make, you know, all the difference. And I think it's going to be a worthwhile preventative maintenance thing. So hopefully it will pay those dividends. It'll be kind of hard to tell, because there won't be, you know, anything to compare it to per se, other than just knowing, just from my experience, I know that it was going to continue to get worse. There wasn't anything that was going to improve. It was only going to get worse. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I had a similar issue. It wasn't as bad as the one that was called in on Wednesday, but it was a similar issue where the boxes were full. I drained them out, and at the time they were kind of filling back up again because the ground was so saturated. But now this should make a world of difference. And so we'll see how it is moving forward. I'm going to get all of this fabric and rock out of here. I found some more donies I had to dig around to fit these boxes in because they're bigger, but it's going to make such a big difference. And these are such solid boxes and solid lids, so in addition to the pea gravel and the flange on the bottom, they're going to offer the most protection from, you know, pipe damage, wire damage, all of the irrigation utilities that are in this particular area. It's going to offer the best protection for that. It's definitely a worthwhile investment. So I'll get all this buttoned up and put the sod back in, and hopefully in a few weeks you won't notice that I was even in here. But in the meantime, let's hope that it not only mitigates this situation, it more or less solves it from the standpoint of, you know, just this big standing water where it looks like it's flooding out. I can't guarantee that, but I have a strong sense that it's going to make, you know, a significant impact in, you know, to that end. And that was the entire intent. And we'll see what it does from here.